All right, everybody. Welcome to the next installment of Dismount. And we're just ready and we are hitting our stride now, folks. Might not be completely fully here today. Might have some we did a little race this morning, so we're feeling it a little bit today, but
speak for yourself.
As far as
these two ran.
Yeah, Randy, you better carry the weight of this episode.
Yeah, where are you
I'm also
kid?
hungover.
So, we're hitting our stride, and going forward, there's no longer going to be this like, oh, we're season 1, season 2. No, it's episode after episode. It's dismount season, and it's time to just start pumping out some episodes to you folks. So, with that being said, we are going to finalize our vulnerability episode, and to start off this vulnerability episode in kind of like a funny way. Tit, how much weight do you put on? Okay. This scenario that I'm about to lay out to you, all right? So you wake up, you're like, oh crap, man. I have to run a race at 8 o'clock and it is 6:47. How much weight do you put on getting that first bow release out before you were even contemplating stepping on that starting line?
Oh, I'd actually be in a very dangerous spot if I knew the race was at 8 a.m. I'd have to wake up at like 5 a.m. because my cycle is set for like, as soon as I drink coffee, I'm not like everybody else where it's ready. I got probably about 2 hours until things like are ready.
Okay. You got to wake up and massage the muscles a little bit. All right. You got to loosen.
Just because of work habits, as soon as you go in, like, after enough times where you're like, I got to get stuff done. I can't get shit done. I got to get stuff done. Like, so I'd probably, you mean like weight as in like.
How much weight are you putting on that? Because me today, dude, I would not have been able to run the race that I ran had I not released before. Dude, I would have totally. When we were walking down to the starting line and I was like, dude, the one thing I think about is not about not finishing. It's not about like not having to stop and like walk for a little while. The whole thing that's going through my mind is not shitting myself on that race. I do not want to have to walk back to my car, just shat myself. That is not even remotely close to something I want to deal with.
Yep. I've always pooped a lot before running and races.
Yeah, historically speaking.
It's never come up in any 5K or anything I've ran. I've only run 5Ks.
Yeah.
But anytime I've always like made sure I like dosed up on the caffeine early morning and then force myself like to have all that so that my bowel movement's ready and then later have the run. So
it's this kid. How much weight you putting on that, man? I know you were like,
I could feel it this morning. I could feel a difference, and that's I'm like exactly like you. I need to get up and move around a little bit, and there wasn't any getting up and moving around prior to. So I was all right today. I would have been a lot better off had I let it rip.
Dude, after going on that bike ride, yesterday, and then doing what we did last night, which wasn't anything, but like I feel like I wore clothes that just were too warm for the situation. And then waking up this morning, dude, I tried to get a shower when I got home. It felt like as soon as the water hit my downstairs area, dude, I just felt like it was glass. It was just raw, dude. Not straight chafe. Yes, just so uncomfortable. City. And I was like, dude, did not even want to. I was like, I can't even get a shower right now. I can't even do anything. And powered through the shower, but I will say, man, so much weight put on that get released out because otherwise I'd have been so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So rolling into the vulnerability episode,
raw,
just absolutely raw. I will say, man, I was thinking about it last night. I sometimes felt like I was downplaying my life, like. Didn't want to make my life seem like it was so much better than other people's because I just know that there's so many people who are living in these like really depressive states or like tough mental, fortitude is being built and they're just in a rough go, right? And I know that I'm pretty empathetic, so I've always felt like people's energies like before they even like really kind of like shared their shit with you or allowed you in. So I always kind of like didn't want to like be like, oh yeah, I did this and I did that and what this and whatnot. And I'm like, man, fuck that shit. Like, dude, our life is pretty freaking dope. Like my life is pretty dope. And I am so like proud and excited to be able to just say that. Like we got together on Friday. We continued to work on the podcast, did our thing, woke up Saturday, went for like an epic wet, soggy bottom boy bike ride. Just
It's a little, dude, my ass was wet instantaneous.
had a like existential like moment with freaking life and energy and just like Mother Nature on Saturday.
Yeah.
Then pass out for 2 hours, wake up, go to the freaking Pens game with the boys, and you're just in like the dopest freaking spot. Like I've never experienced that. I mean, I've been down on the ice. We used to have Fast Eddie who would get me and my dad down there close to the ice whenever we come to a game. But that was a different experience last night. You
Yeah, that
know,
was cool.
and just, I don't know, things are just, we're here together. We woke up this morning. We did a 6.6 charity run, and now we're doing a podcast together. And I'm just thinking about like where my life is versus where my life had been, and just so vulnerably like pumped to just say like, yeah, this is the shit, man. And I'm pumped about it. And I'm not afraid to share that anymore. You know, I was someone who didn't want to boast is the word I was trying to dance around, figuring out in my head while I was rambling on there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, vulnerability for just being able to like share your shit, man. Like we've been doing some stuff, and there's no reason to downplay what we've been doing or make anybody, if anybody feels some type of way about that or thinks that, I guess what I'm dancing around is I've been called a big shot before, or I've been called a big shot. I've been called pompous, you know, shit like that. And you're just like, damn, you're just so proud in your own skin, and you just get arrows just annihilated on. Like you just constantly feel like that weight of one person saying that in front of people is literally like the Leonidas like film spot for me when all the arrows are just coming down, like, and he's just about to take like his final blow, right? And I'm just like, damn, the weight of that just absolutely feels like that just crashing down on you.
Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is wrong with people, man?
Yeah.
Envy.
Yeah, probably.
Projecting. If you can't get better than somebody, you can definitely try to tear them down.
Right.
It's like two ways to make the tallest building. You tear down all the other ones, or you build the tallest building.
Huh.
Somebody else said that. I don't know who.
Yeah,
That's not me.
That's cool though. Yeah. Yeah, you either rip down all the ones that are above you or you build it higher.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
I think most people choose to do the one that's not as honorable. Well, not most, but you know, the ones that hurt are whenever people do the one that's dishonorable.
That's the easy way out.
Yeah. It takes a lot less work than it does to build a good building to just tear one down.
Demo.
Yeah.
Just put some bombs and just boosh.
And it makes you not want to be like, okay, then I'm not the tallest building. I'll just be secretly like building my building in the shade while you guys are all doing it in the sun. I'm gonna work on my building over here.
Yeah. It doesn't need tall. It can have a cool lobby.
Yeah. Could have a sick
nice
basement.
Food court.
Could have an underground layer.
Yeah. What if it goes straight underground? No one's doing that.
And it links it to
Or
other
they?
ones. We got tunnels. We got 3 tall buildings over here. We got tunnels going under. Y'all don't even know. We're building a little metropolis.
Wow.
But yeah, there is so much difference out there in this world. There's so much yin to the yang. There's so much dark to the light. There's so much good to the bad. And there's just all this constant balances that are trying to check themselves out. And I definitely don't want to be this guy who's like, oh, Mr. Positivity and that kind of stuff, because it's not like that. But I definitely like like there's some stuff going on in this world right now that, I mean, I won't mention because it's not something that I focus my time or energy on, but there are things that go on a regular basis that, you know, we wouldn't agree with, and you would look at and you would think like, man, this is some really like sad stuff, but how are you to know that that's not fully what's going on? Mm-hmm. And unless you're someone who's really truly there or truly inside of this whole like event that people are talking about, like you can't really say like what's happening and what's not happening. Like for instance, there was a video not too long ago. I want to say it was about a year or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. It was definitely during the whole pandemic and whatnot. But there was a video, I don't know if you guys remember, when we were pulling out of Afghanistan and all of the gentlemen were trying to run and grab onto that plane that was taken off. You rewatch that video, that plane was so effing fake, it's not even funny. Like the plane was just a blow up. And so that event that they tried to use as a propaganda situation is so bullshit, man, that you're sitting here and you're like, come on guys, like you got to understand what's going on in the world out there that you're being told might not actually truly be the story. It's just what they're trying to feed to you to get you to think a certain way. Yeah. Or that Americans are bad because look, Americans are pulling out and they're leaving all these Afghanistan or I'm going to fuck up how to phrase Afghani people. They're letting them just hang on.
What were you going to say?
I was trying to use, that was what I was working on.
Like Afghanistani.
That's what I would have said. I'm glad I just sat here, just was quiet.
I was actually kind of interested
but regardless, like if you look at the picture of that video, like that video of that plane versus like a real plane that's supposed to be it, the windows are all blacked out. There's no logos on it on the side. Right. Like it was a really fake staged thing. And we've seen how much like the world is just a stage. Like what are they going to put in front of us now? So I'm okay and ready to be vulnerable to be able to say like, hey man, I understand you might look at this as like a really sad situation, but like to me, bro, I can see how fake it is. Like I know people who I talked to over that time who were like, man, look how horrible we were. We were just leaving these people. I'm like, yeah, it's a fake blow up plane. Like it's just such a staged event. Like, come on now. Like you have to see it. Like you have to see that a lot of this stuff has just been here to try to manipulate you into not allowing you to be you. Like, yeah, it's just keeping you in this cultivated fear. Like I don't truly want to believe that this is the thing, but you brought up the Rick and Morty episode where the robot learns that he's becomes sentient. He learns that all his job is to split butter, right? Yeah. Is to spread butter. Yeah. What if 5 billion people woke up one day and realized that, oh, the whole reason why we're here is we're just this like we just are the energy batteries that keep this entire reality and simulation going. Right. So our fear is what continues to cultivate this simulation, which allows all these people to have this control and power over what they can manipulate, because they can't manipulate everything, because ultimately the good always wins. The light always outshines the dark. So if you choose the dark, you're ultimately always going to be outshined by the light. Yeah. So if you want to go down the dark path, sure, dude, there's some really sick, cool shit you could do. I mean, it's interesting. I still think it's interesting. I know it's dark stuff, but like black magic and all that kind of interesting stuff, that's real shit. Like it's real stuff that happens in our reality, and it's cool. But it's also, if you want to go down that path, you don't become Gandalf the White. You know what I mean?
Love Gandalf the White.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want to go down that path. Like you've seen it in all these amazing movies. Like who do you want to be, dog? Like the bad guys, sure, dude. They keep coming back. They ain't gonna go anywhere because there's always got to be a dark to the light. Yeah. But they don't end up winning. Like when do you see them winning? They don't. So it's just, I think it's so interesting that you get to choose your reality here. Yeah. do you want to sit in this sadness and this sulking and like whatever, or do you want to just say like, yo, this experience is dope as fuck. Like, where else am I going to get this experience? Who knows what else, this experience might be in different realities or, different existences. This is pretty effing cool to me right now.
Yeah.
Like, went to a hockey game, rode my bike this weekend. Like, I have a dope life. Like,
Right.
And if I don't sit here and appreciate that, like, it's just going to slip away, man.
Yeah.
What role do you guys think that manipulation plays in kind of like the dark side to the light? Manipulation versus being vulnerable, and the aspect that, like, how much of an influence do you think we become less vulnerable as our counterparts become more manipulative?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting, like, to dance around that. Holy shit sticks. Like, I don't know. As you would allow yourself to be more vulnerable, do you open yourself up to allowing those entities to influence you more?
Yeah.
And I see exactly where you're going with that.
Of course.
So as I break down these walls of allowing myself to experience new shit, do I open myself up for that potential? So then what do you got to build in place to be able to, weather that storm?
I think it's I'm going to go stick on the Lord of the Rings theme, and I apologize for any viewers who haven't watched it. Go watch it.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
It's like 20 years now, almost. 2003, I think, was the last one. So, but I think Aragorn and Saruman would be very good examples, because Aragorn, he'd be the one. He is vulnerable, but he's not like completely vulnerable. Like, he builds up his skills and his abilities and his relationships, and that allows him, with the combination of everyone, to defeat Saruman, along with like Gandalf the Grey and all these different empires. So I think it's kind of like maybe the answer to a manipulative wizard, Saruman, against the vulnerable knight, Aragorn, who is, the legacy of basically the, what represents a good and evil.
Yeah.
Like, he's the path. He's going to go one or the other. And he's always like, I'm afraid of myself. I'm not man enough to wield the ring. I'm not strong enough. My ancestors weren't. And then becomes a challenge of, all right, so I guess his answer was build up your strength, skills, and then you need something like not outside of yourself, but he gets the sword. They rebuild the sword that has like elvish magic or something.
Yeah.
And that is like their saving grace. But I guess in that respect, the sword embodies him. Like, it's everything good about yourself all coming to this culmination point. And with the help of others, you need to open yourself up to have the help of others and trust other people to get to that point. Because alone, Aragorn lost.
Dude, I love how movies are so fascinating at being able to show you like how much like we should be doing together, but yet we're not working on. There's like, we're stuck here just like worried about keeping up with the Joneses, and I'm using that old school phrase as just a blanket to it. But we're too worried about what other people have or this or that. And it's just like, we don't focus on what we have or what we need to be doing. And you said this before. It was on the last episode we just did. And you said, yeah, that's cool. Like, but what are you doing for society? Like, yeah, sure, we can put the blame on, we can pass the buck over to like, okay, yeah, sure, 3 of us can sit in here in this room and say like, this is what we're doing wrong. But what are we doing to ultimately bring that to society? Not sitting here saying like, oh, society, you're fucked up because you guys can't stop judging each other. No, what are we doing that's ultimately bringing that to the light?
Yeah.
And how do you do that? How do you sit here and how do you not judge each other? Like, we're sitting here, we're having a conversation, none of us judge each other in what points of view we bring to this table. But if someone doesn't have any awareness or isn't even trying to build any awareness to understand that kind of stuff, to be able to respect themselves more, to ultimately show more respect to the people who they love or they allow inside them, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So how do you push the buck? Like, how do we keep pushing society? How do we keep doing it without it being like this is what everybody does now, and that's just how it is?
Yeah.
You know, I'm so fascinated with trying to figure out that concept of like, how do we start pushing that around to more people? How do you start pushing the love around to more people? The understanding, the shit. Why do I keep saying all this kind of stuff? Oh, it's because I feel that type of way. I'm worried about myself. You know, I'm saying these things because it's more about me. It's not about that person. I've never had that conversation with myself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, where do we even get that ball rolling?
You have to start with yourself. Like, that's like, I guess that's the way I look at it. Like, that's what I can do, is starting with yourself and respecting yourself and being open with yourself and trying to promote love in you know, the way you look at who you are and what you do. And, you know, I think that's something where, you know, it's tough, but looking inside and then projecting out would be my goal, you know, being able to take care of myself and then be like, all right, well, after trial and error, these are the things that work for me. And it's always going to be the right things. The right things are hard, though. That's why no one really wants to deal with them.
Yeah.
But, you know, the way I look at it would be exactly that, you know, trying to start within. And then, you know, there's no really being there for other people without being there for yourself first.
Oh, without a doubt. You have to show up for yourself. I mean, we talked about that topic before. If you don't have a full glass, you know, you don't have anything to pour anyways.
Right.
So if you haven't built up the self-love, you have no love to give.
Yeah. If
and I think
change the
that's
filter on your Brita pitcher, then, you know, you ain't getting any water anyway.
Yeah. So it's just,
You got to filter it out. Yeah.
I just, how do you, getting that ball rolling, man.
I think
It's interesting.
I think there's something cool with all those concepts that kind of links together. And I was like, you know what? It's kind of like the Fellowship, getting super nerdy, going back to Lord of the Rings all over again. But it's kind of like what we're doing right now. It's like, well, how do you like build that? It's like, well, you start small. Start with yourself, then move to a small group, check in with that small group, keep everyone accountable.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan Peterson had a good thing to say about like sharing news. Be careful who you share good news with and bad news. And at first I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like I get one of them, but not the other. And I was like, well, the good news, because like, you don't just want to go around and be like, hey, I got a scholarship. I got into Harvard. I got into Yale. And then there's that person with that small building that's just like, man, F them. Like, F them. I hope they fail out. And they're going to come up with all these reasons to tear you down behind your back and be like, they got in because their mother worked for Full House and she bribed. No, I'm kidding. That actually happened. But they'll have all these reasons. I think it takes like a fellowship of people who are, you know, at least a small group of people to be like, okay, here are a couple examples. And, I think whenever it comes to a movement, it might have been you, or it might have just been something I heard on a YouTube video. It was like, how many people does it take to start a movement? It's like it takes the second person.
Yeah.
The first person, they could start, but you need like at least 2 to 3. Once you get like that third one, you got some traction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I was thinking about. What does it take? I think it takes at least a second person to start to make some changes.
Yeah, and someone that aligns themselves with, you know, your thought process and what you want out of life. Because, I mean, it's a battle, but it's also like you can't, you know, hit your head up against a wall over and over again, hoping that people will change or even want to live in the manner that you do. So I think it's important to understand that as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with those people either. Depending on, everyone views life differently. Everyone perceives life. Everyone's been through different circumstances and environments. And I think that, it's important to understand that alone, because if you're going to, try to mold people in your fashion, then you're no better than the people who are, taking advantage or manipulating folks into what they want, self-fulfilling.
My hardest thing is sitting here and I think I might have said this before, or I say it to people on a regular basis, but am I the only one who drank the Disney Kool-Aid, man? Anyone can become what they want to become. This is a magical world, and and your dreams, you can achieve any of your dreams.
Yeah.
I don't understand why so many people just beat themselves to this pulp of everything's gone. It is what it is. Life is over. I'm not going to become this. I'm not going to become that. And I'm like, shit, man. You can become that at any point in time. It doesn't matter what day and age, where you're at. Okay, so you don't do it to this extent or that level of say you want to get back into running and, I'm 60 years old and I want to get back into running. Okay, I might not be running in every single Boston marathon, but I can still get back into running. I can still do 5Ks. I can still do 12K. You know what I'm saying? You can get into stuff. It's just, it might not be to the extent or the level that you might have dreamed at one point in time or thought you could have achieved, but why? Just anything is possible. I just walk through life and I see every single person, because there is nothing about me that is any more special than any single other person here. There's not. Anything that I'm capable of, any single other person here is capable of. And anything that any single person has done here, I'm capable of doing as well. And I believe that. So some people look at that as or some people might look at that as well, that's kind of lame. You mean I'm never going to be an original? No, you might be the original to set the new record, but everybody's capable of doing all these amazing, fascinating things here. It's just, when did we stop believing in ourselves?
Yeah.
When was that beaten out of us? So that vulnerability of contemplating the thought process of, did all these people allow themselves to be vulnerable in these situations of doing these jobs that they didn't want to do, or having that imposter syndrome? And then that stems into, I've been beaten down so many times that I just allow the beat and I just accept the beat as that's my usual. That's my norm,
Right.
I just take this ass whooping all the time.
I think somebody said it's better if you're on a path to hell, it's better to go by car, because you'll get there faster and you'll turn around faster. But it's all of us are walking slowly towards, I shouldn't say all of us, because I don't want to speak for anyone listening.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are generally, they're taking a slow walk to hell, and it's getting warmer. It's kind of like the gaslighting thing. It's getting warmer and warmer gradually. Things suck. You're like, gotta do this bullshit again. Gotta go through and do these things that are a pain in my ass that I don't believe in, but make money for the boss. And ultimately it comes down to, I forget who said this, but somebody said you could either spend your time chasing your dreams or chasing someone else's.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of set up in a formula that if you want I joked about this before, but if you want your insurance, you want your 401k, you want your security and your retirement, and basically to be able to live a life that there's less risk, then you're going to end up kind of, walking along with the rest of the lemmings, I think.
Yeah.
But it kind of sucks, because I think a lot of people, they lose a lot of that light and fire inside of them as time goes, and just kind of gets beaten out of you a little bit more and more. And then, we're enjoying our life, and our life gets to happen when we're not doing that. And I think, myself included, a lot of people, you don't work the job that sets your heart on fire. You work the job that you are either skilled at, you've developed the skills, or you make good money, or all three.
Yeah.
And you just get stuck in that rut. And I think you pointed out a really good thing. It's like me with like, making movies and stuff. I don't give myself enough time, commitment, or joy experience into doing anything that's a little project. And I'm like, as soon as I say, that'd be a lot of work, I'd be like, well, you don't have any more energy for work.
Yeah.
And I think that's our fallacy that we all fall into is one, that the things that require effort equals work. It's not always the case. Once you've done something enough, you start enjoying it, and then it's no longer work. It's just a habit. But then two, we watch everyone on Instagram and all these sites, like we've talked before, living their best life. When meanwhile, who knows what that person's life is like? You're not looking at their life at all. You're looking at Plato's cave. You're looking at the shadows of their life, saying, this person's super happy. They're super fit. They don't have pimples. They never did. Their shit smells like roses. Everything's great. And we see that, and then we just say, oh yeah, their life's great. My life's not. And then we go back into our job, and then we're like, just that.
Yeah. Well, how many people can actually say they have a boss who understands this concept? If I'm not invested into that company, there is no reason why I should be going above and beyond. So if I get paid for 40 hours worth of work, and that's what I'm paid for, I'm here to do this task. I'm here to do project management on these. Here's your projects for the time being until these are done. Once these are done, we will pass you another set of projects. If I continue to go above and beyond for that company, I'm the ass.
I've experienced that.
Okay? Because if I'm not invested into that company, so what I mean by that is if I'm not getting a dividend check off the quarters for all the people who are actually investors in that company or part owners, then I'm a fool. Yes, there is the concept of perpetuating this, continuing to keep the company going, and you want to do something. You might go out of your way to do one or two things that help keep things running smoothly, or might make things easier for you during the week. But to go way above and beyond is just a goofy, it's a terrible idea if you're not someone who's ultimately going to get those return on your investment.
Yeah.
Because you're not. You might work for a good company that gives you a really good bonus at the end of the year, but you can't bank on that. And you can't bank on the company not going out of business or not selling before you get that big bonus. So if I'm not an investor, if I'm not a part owner, if anything happens to that company, I get nothing. It's gone. Boom. Now I got to start back over. So there's just so many people out there that we don't live by that concept. Like, you want people to work harder for you in your company, you give them part ownership. And then now there's some stake to the actual game. Oh shit. If I go above and beyond and I go get these other two contracts, like those other two contracts will bring in this money, which ultimately, that brings in an extra $1 million. That's going to bring in an extra $2,500 on my dividend check next quarter.
Yeah.
That's when you start bringing the heat, man. That's when you that's when you'll start seeing some people really, really do some shit for your company.
Yeah.
Now I can't sit here and say like, oh, Zach, what do you got a Fortune 500 company and you know what you're talking about? No, but you will fucking wait and you wait and see what companies we build. And you wait and see the people who constantly talk about how they want to keep working for us and how we're building every single one of those people into someone who gets the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
And does it for themselves.
Yeah. No, it seems like it comes from, probably a little bit of greed and then a little bit of like an ego thing. Like you're like, if you don't want to invest in those people, it's most likely because you feel like, I built this myself. I gave you this opportunity. I brought you to the table, and I'm feeding you. Isn't that good enough? Mm-hmm. And I mean, sometimes it is. Yeah, exactly. Like it can be, but like, that's why you have to have that relationship and understanding with your job where it's don't overextend then, like a lot of people will, I don't say a lot of people, but like, I'll use myself as an example, like, trying to feel passion outside of work is really a battle, especially as you get older and there's more responsibilities and whatever it may be. But, you're killing a part of that by overextending yourself for a job that may be, thankless. And, I don't think that's my situation at my current job and too much of it. Like the good part about my job is, I can sell more things and make more money. So actually, like that example you just gave, like the more money I make for the organization, the more money I make for myself.
Yeah.
So it does work in that sense. The job is also grueling to say the least, but it's something where I really think you see it alone is like, okay, cool. If you don't have that investment into a certain gig, that's not even your passion, then cool, like use it as a means. Then like if you want to be a guitar player, you're doing it. Like it doesn't need to mean like you get paid to play guitar. Like some people are really lucky, not everyone is, you know, like you can be like, cool, this is how I make money, and then I go and do the thing I love. That's okay too.
Well, who wants to sell their soul?
Right. And then sometimes you do it and it takes the fun out of it. Like you lose the fun. You lose it. Right. Because it's attached to your well-being and being able to live like a somewhat normal life. And am I going to cover rent? Am I going to be able to pay my car insurance? And that's tied into something you really love. I don't know if that's my gig.
If someone told me right now, hey, brother, you just got to trade in your soul, and for the rest of this existence, you can go do your own thing. You have all the money the money will always be there. You'll be able to travel the world, go experience every single thing you want to go experience, go do all the shit you want to do. You can do all the philanthropy. You can do everything, anything you want to do while you're here. But we get your soul. Nah, not giving it up, dog. It's not happening. That's my forever. That's my everything. At the end, that's where I was like, we were trying to say, like, what is that piece that you have to hold as close to you as possible? Or what do you need to build up to be able to protect you from situations like that? I become more vulnerable, so I open up myself to potential darkness, That's the piece. I have the soul, man. So as long as I have that soul, I always have that light in me. So that light can't be affected by the dark. But if I release that light, if I give away my essence of who this is, then I've just opened up myself to all the darkness.
Yeah.
So do you want to become immortal? Sure. Give away your soul. You could easily become immortal. Fuck yeah. You want to stay here forever, dog? You could become that if you wanted to. I don't want that. I want to keep going and experiencing everything else that there is to experience. If we can calculate multiple dimensions right now from being in this dimension, that means that there's multiple other opportunities out there.
Right.
So I'm robbing myself of a potential next experience or a completely different experience to this. No way, dude. No way. Not for one go round of whippy-de-ding dong. No way. It's not happening. Now, would that be awesome? Like, could you do a lot of good? Could you end up being amazing or whatever? Yeah, man. But that, to me, that's just selling out to the zeros, and when you could have been a hero, And I just think there's too many people who just have given into the zeros, man.
Yeah.
What you've described, essentially, it's funny. This will be the third time I come back to Lord of the Rings, but essentially Frodo versus Gollum. Frodo's like, I have this honorable mission, this quest that I have to do, this thing that I have to carry out. And you have Gollum, who killed his brother out of greed.
Yeah.
And tried to become all powerful, just sucked in to the dark side. And spoiler alert, again, Gollum kills his brother, but
Yeah.
yeah, he becomes a deformed version of what he once was.
Yeah. You ruined it. You ruined the movie for me. Thanks, Ted.
I know you've seen all three. I'm the only one in this room who this is embarrassing to say, but being vulnerable, I just watched those three in a row for the first time this year.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
But I am so glad because my knowledge of story is so much better that I got to watch each one of them and dissect them as I was watching with a 30-year-old brain rather than like a 10-year-old brain.
Yeah.
So then I got to watch all of them and I was like, holy hell. Each movie is like 3 movies in one.
Yeah.
And I still have the Hobbit series to go. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh. But so good. So I'm glad, kind of like in the same way you said about like your life, like I'm glad I am where I am right now. Like as far as my work I do right now, it doesn't light my heart on fire, but it's a purposeful mission. I know I work in the medical field and I know that the things I do during the day are helping making people's lives better.
Yeah, they're changing people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
You're making components, man, that ultimately go into people. That give them opportunities to get back, mobility that they didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, that is the side of the medical field and big pharma and stuff like that no one can sit here and say isn't fantastic. Isn't the awesome stuff that we've been doing. But it is. We're getting more and more by the day of seeing how much of the dirtiness has come from stuff like that.
Yeah.
And where I think more and more people by the day are starting to finally say like, no, I'm going to make the decisions for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dana White, you seen all the stuff going on with Dana White and, gentleman's last name is Brecka. I believe his name is Gary Brecka, but Gary Brecka is, like a biologist, a human biologist, and he completely saved Dana White's life.
Oh, with the was it telomeres?
Telomeres? I don't know what telomeres are, but he completely revamped Dana White's his like diet and everything that he does. Dana White was in an interview recently. He said, "I will never go back to a doctor for just my normal like everyday health." He goes, "I'll never go back." I was like, wow, that's a bold statement. You coming out here after all this shit, it's a bold statement. But regardless, like that kind of stuff, like we're more and more by the day, we're seeing this really interesting stuff come out and it's cool. And yes, there are some things that are like, you're like, okay, maybe not this, but that. Yeah. Okay. But it's cool. Like I like seeing all the interesting stuff that's coming, and I like seeing that we're growing as a society, and throughout like all this stuff that's happening, like the dark stuff that's happening right now is like the last grasp at trying to hold that control, because we're leaving this house. And the house of Pisces was the house of deception. And we've been moving into the house of Aquarius, if you follow your astrology. And the house of Aquarius is the house of knowledge and the house of understanding and the house of learning. So, like, it's really interesting that society is transitioning and you follow, like, the astrology follows the way society has followed. And you're just like, that's so cool. Like,
Yeah.
so was our story really written in the stars before it even happens? Like, was mine and your existence written in the stars on the day we were born? Like my purpose, what was going to happen in my life, the experiences that I was going to have in this incarnation for me was supposedly written in the stars on the day I was born, the second I was born. It's wild.
It's funny. I'm a Pisces water sign, and some of the most spiritual experiences I've had were getting in some cold ass water, like in Kauai in the waterfalls. I also, trained my body with the cold shower exposure, but jumping in there, it's like, whew. Also, some of those best experiences have been whenever I've jumped in water. You feel like you've been blessed. But aside from that note, I think telomeres was the thing that you're looking for, because I think I also knew about Dana White basically that doctor told him like, hey, you're going to live for like 10 more years and then you're going to die.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, I figured, see, essentially the human version of carbon dating something. So he told him like, this is what I'm seeing because of what your genetics is showing. You're going to die probably in 10 years. And then Dana White's like, what? It's like, I'm going to drop a bunch of weight. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to eat fruit, vegetable. I'm going to do all this shit. And then that's whenever he like dropped a bunch of weight and started to get in shape and started taking care of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he said he was tired of all the pills.
Yeah.
He got him off all the pills.
Wow.
That's what he got him off of. That's pretty awesome. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of awesome stuff that's coming our way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a lot of crazy shit. Like for instance, what's going on right now, there's going to be crazy shit that's going to be happening. That's going to be trying to grasp at keeping those last group of people in that fear-based mongering society. You know, we're not going to transition into this society where it's like all daffodils and dandelions and everybody wears white and everything's white and everything's neutral. That's not what we're going to transition into. But it would be really cool to transition into a society where we can drive down a road and everybody doesn't get road rage at each other, or everybody understands like, hey, these people have a shit job that they're probably going to too. So why am I losing my shit over getting to this job that I don't even like right now? And I'm going to treat people like shit in the process on my way there?
Yeah.
Damn. Why haven't I sat here and taken in? Holy crap. What have I been doing for how many years?
Yeah, I also think it's unfair a little bit too, though, because I mean, we have like monkey brains too. Like we still kind of have like we're still evolving, you know,
well, that's
from
what I'm
like from
saying.
being like animalistic. Like, yeah, it's any person could sit there and take inventory. Like we're all capable of doing it, but like, you know, like that's why like, and it's moving that direction, sure, but like, I mean, there's always conflict, and I think people won't give credit to that. Like that, like now is the best time to ever be alive. Like this is it. This is the best as far as advancement goes and life itself. Now, like people can make it up and say like, you know, the 90s were the best time to be, you know, 20 years old or something. Like that's cool. I don't know, maybe, but like, you know, pre-internet, I don't know. Like that's a whole different, completely different society. Period. Everything is completely different the second the internet got fucking switched on. So, I mean, as far as medical advancement, longevity of life, quality of life, I do believe now is the best time to be alive, but I think it's, you know, it's also easy to just get caught up in like, you know, like I think we all want to like, you know, fight battles all the time, whether we like to admit it or not. Like there's always a new hill to get over. There's always something new, you know? So it's like, you know, cool. Like my dumbass, like always worried about money. And then I got a job that paid well. Now it's like, all right, cool. Now what do I get to worry about? You know, like what's next to worry about? Cause I'm just wired that way, unfortunately. Like I work on that. I'm getting better at that. But like, it's a battle with yourself to be okay with taking those consistent inventory checks and, you know, understanding that, wow, you know, like, you know, and it's not all just bullshit battles we make up. It's, you know, there are battles we all face every day. It's life, you know, we're only here for a certain amount of time, you know, with the people in our lives and, you know, tasks we face on a daily basis. You know, it's something where there are challenges to be had, but, you know, we could all owe it to the person next to us to be a little more aware of the challenges they're facing because they don't really ever conflict with us too much. So let them deal with their shit. You know, don't step down on them for it or, you know, give them shit because of it. You know, let it be and, you know, be a little more aware of it.
How often do you feel that you're in a safe enough space to allow yourself to finally relax? I had this feeling.
I mean, it's only around like so many people. Like it's only around certain people.
But here's that.
Or just without people in general. Okay. I mean, it's hard. Like with especially my life. It's just I always like definitely overextend myself. So Like even yesterday, like I mean, even right now, fucking weekend, we had a dope weekend. Like I don't want to trade any of it. I'm not gonna say, oh, we did too much, but like even yesterday, like woke up, got to meet. The second I'm up, you're 10 minutes away. Get on the bike, come back. Soaking fucking wet. The water's out. Got to go check on the cat for my girl. Had to go put laundry in. Checked on the cat. Came back. Ryan's there. I'm in the middle of cleaning the apartment. I'm running around back and forth. This and that. And then like even Ryan said like it was on the phone with Carrie and like I don't know. I think it was when you showed up. I was like, yeah, I think like Derek needs to like sit down for a bit. Like yeah, I do. And anyone who knows me best probably would say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were talking on the bike yesterday about this concept of how important community is in building out that community, and where you were talking about that fellowship goes right with this. Like, if the three of us were dropped 1,000 years ago in the Sahara, all right, whatever. Just pick a place that you think is real dangerous. All right.
I like the Sahara. That's a good one. It's messed up.
Three of us are just
put us here.
Yeah. The three of us are just dropped into this situation. All right. Now we have to survive. Luckily, we have the three of us. So like, all right, two of us are getting rest. You're on night watch. You know, so now you're able to finally get some rest because we have someone who can watch the night. Okay, we start building up this community. All right, we've now built this up. We found some ladies. We started building families and that kind of stuff. All right, Derek, you're staying here with the kids and the women while Brandon and I go out and hunt. Having that ability to have those people in your life, of allowing yourself those places where you can finally feel safe. I didn't really think about that until this past week, man. Like, holy shit, like tripping nuts. And I lay down in my bed yesterday and I'm like, I'm so happy because I have two dogs here in this house right now. I feel so safe to be able to just lay down and relax for the next 2 hours, set an alarm. I'm going down to D's at 4:00 and we're going to the Penguins game. But right now, I'm just going to take some time to just be me and just relax and just allow myself this time where I'm feeling the energies of the earth. I'm feeling I'm feeling myself like manipulating the rain outside. And that's when I was like, all right, this shit's getting bonkers. And so regardless, I felt safe because I had my dog. And like I had that ability to be able to be in that place of being happy and enjoy that experience because I had someone who made me feel safe.
Right.
Like if there was anything that would have happened or transpired, Ruby's losing her shit and barking. And then now that's when the ticker goes from relaxed to fight or flight.
Yeah.
You know, that's when I'm like, okay, now we're on guard. Cause like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I want to travel the world and I want to go see stuff. And like, I know that having a dog, like, I don't want to leave my dog all the time, but I don't know if I can live without a dog, man.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me. Like even on the days when I don't show up enough for them, like they're always there showing up for you. And I don't know. I just think of her as like this little dragon, dude. Like it's just my dragon that protects me, man. Like at any point in time, she could just like morph into this like badass freaking entity creature and just be like protect you in the spirit world. You know what I mean? Like just interesting, cool shit like that. But what do you guys got? You know, what are you thinking about when it comes down to what we've been talking about today, Tit? Like where's your head go with all the stuff we've been chatting about?
So I mean, I really like the idea of the fellowship like we've been talking about. I think that that's really important, and it's very good to understand like it's really hard to be vulnerable. Like I'll be honest, you guys know me, you guys know I'm like always Mr. Optimist, but like I don't always want to be. Like that's just my role, and I've been trying to slide out of my role more and more. Like I mentioned in the last podcast, like it's hard for me to walk past somebody and not say hello.
Yeah.
Like even if I have the exact same conversation like 3 times within like 6 hours, be
Still.
like, hey, how's it going? Good. What's up? Not much. How about you? Like,
Yeah.
my one coworker probably drops some nuts, but I just try to change it up every once in a while. But that, and I think another concept we mentioned in a previous episode was on respect. And I think sometimes you may over respect people, and it's hilarious because they come from a whole different set of rules and universes. And I just listened to, I think it was an after school special.
Okay.
SKOOL, like you showed me.
Yeah.
And it talks about the programming that we grow up with the first 7 years. There's that age-old adage, give me a boy or child for the first 7 years and I'll show you the man who he's going to become.
Yeah.
So we have all
Jesuits.
we have all this programming that comes into it, and then everybody else, they have their own completely different universe that they're walking around with all different programs. And it's so interesting because this goes into one of our questions. Is vulnerability, this is our question we've focused mainly on, is vulnerability a universal experience? Does it vary across different cultures, backgrounds, how cultural norms and societal expectations influence the willingness to be vulnerable? We all have like millions of programs, in my opinion. That's not a realistic number. That's just a number.
Yeah.
We all have these millions of programs that are running in our head that tell you what's okay, but I have millions of mine that some of them overlap, some of them don't, tells me what is okay. Then you also have all these rules and programs saying what's okay. So we all are supposed to come together and we have to learn what each other's rules, programs. And I think one of my biggest shortcomings on being vulnerable is speaking back, talking back. I'm still in that like mentality of like, don't be a bad boy.
Yeah. I got you.
Like, it's so interesting. I'm like, you always got to be a good boy. Like, and it's hilarious because it drives me a little nuts because some people, they don't have the same rules and programs that I do. And I'm like, you mother. Like,
Yeah. I got you.
I'm like, I'm sitting here. I've been building my building with all really good material all the time. And you motherfucker, you just built this shack that's 20 stories tall and it's going to fall on my building any moment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, just keep working on your building.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then you go over and you're like, you say something nice to the person. They're just like, and I'm like, and you too, man. Like, shove it up your ass. Like, but I think that's probably my biggest thing that I'm working on actively, or not that actively. I'm trying to get better at is being more vulnerable in the sense of like carrying around a sword. Like I may be that manipulative wizard. I've noticed it's interesting. We do have like small little positive manipulations.
Yeah.
Like you take care of someone one day and that rule says, okay, then they're going to take care of me back. Like if I hook up the guy who works off shift to me, hopefully he'll look after me as long as his programs match yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's my biggest takeaway is like just understanding everyone has their own individual universe and set of rules and programs, and they do not always coincide. And it's about learning, okay, how do I take off the armor while still carrying around a big enough sword? Going back to Aragorn.
Yeah.
Aragorn. I figured out that's actually kind of, how I relate to it. But yeah. So me, it's about me being vulnerable is actually being a little bit more aggressive than I usually am.
Yeah. I like that.
It's interesting.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I think that, mentioning what you were saying about being able to do anything you want, and like I subscribe to that idea too. Like, most people would say,
I
like,
subscribe to that idea too. I like that.
Subscribe. Anyway, no, I think that I completely agree with that. People, like, I can't really say people, but I think with myself, like I've always seen it as like just because something isn't my passion doesn't mean I'm not capable of doing it, So in that same sense, like, just because I'm wired a certain way or was because of the, experiences I've had in the past doesn't mean that that's, the person I am subscribed to being for the rest of my life. Like that doesn't there are opportunities to be like in the sense of vulnerability, like, cool, like, why do I act that way? Is that actually like who I am? Like, who am I? And having those opportunities to have those conversations with yourself are something I'll take away from this is that idea of just because of who I've been for the last 30 years doesn't mean that's the person I got to be tomorrow either. Have that ability to change.
Oh, is that
you always have it?
Yeah,
well, every day you can just like immediately.
But it's so
I walk out the store and be a different person than you've ever you've got to know me tomorrow.
It's so empowering.
Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, but yeah, that's the most empowering thing in the world. Is know that like most of the shit you deal with is shit you can solve. That's the most empowering thing. Like that could be like most of the problems you deal with are problems you create. Like that could be like, oh my God, dude, I fuck everything up. Like, no, that just tells you that like you have so much power. You have all the power.
I go back to a year and like 2 months or something ago when we went down to the jazz festival and we both stepped into those porta johns in the Riverhounds parking lot on our way walking in. And we were talking to each other into the porta johns because we were the only two people in the whole parking lot. But we were like, man, such an interesting concept. Like you're inside this box just by yourself right now. And like, I can open this door up and it could be an entirely different universe. Yeah. So like that concept of just at any point in time, I can walk through this next door and just choose like, this is where I want to go. This is where I'm heading towards.
Right.
Like that's so empowering, man. It's so empowering. It's so cool. Well, y'all, this was another fantastic episode from the squad here, and we were finalizing just our thoughts at 30, 31 years old of what vulnerability.
32, according to your bib.
Yeah, according to my bib, I'm 32. What? Bullshit. Kid threw me under the bus as a 91er. But anyway. So, we'll see you guys on the next one. As always, don't trust us, trust yourself, and we'll catch you on the next episode. We'll figure out what number we're on, and next week we'll know.
69.
Yeah. 42.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, for Zach, for hosting. Thank you, Titty, for all the insights.
Yeah, I was pretty quiet this one, actually. I'm glad you did something talk. You carried the weight like we got.
You brought a lot of... Before we end up closing, there was a really cool thing that you mentioned.
Fire it away.
It made me think about, so you're talking about like you always have the choice to like be somebody different. And there was something I read or listened to a long time ago, and it was along the lines of like, don't act as you are, act as the person you want to be. So if you do that every single time, like, and you feel like, okay, that's not really genuine action of mine, eventually it will be, because habits, you do that 60 times, 90 times, then that's who you are. Your subconscious and your body has learned, that's who I am, that's how I act. And then by not doing it, you'll actually feel like a physical response like, that's not who I am to not do that. I got to do it.
Isn't that wild? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool though, but it's hard. It's not easy to build that up. And it's not easy to have that awareness and the understanding of like, oh, this is going to build into something amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh shit, I got to do this again today? Oh, well, crap. Like that's where that 90-day challenge, that 90-day challenge or whatever it is, the 90 hard or whatever it is, or 75 hard.
Right.
75 hard.
What's that?
So it's 75 days of just, you have to drink a gallon of water. You got to work out twice. One of them has to be outside. You have to get 8 hours of sleep, and you have to read like 10 pages in a book. Like it's 75 days, 75 hard is what it's called. And I don't know the full gist of everything that's in the challenge, but I think I hit it pretty strong.
Sober too. Sobriety.
Yeah, sobriety for the 75 days and just eating a proper meal plan or whatever, regardless. But it's 75 days, and that's supposed to... The 75 days is how long it takes you to build one of those new habits. So doing something for 75 days turns it into a habit.
Wow.
But yeah. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys on the next one. Take care. Peace out.
Thank you, guys.
Don't hesitate to catch episode 14 releasing next. Consumption or production? Did you know you have a choice? Catch the video of this podcast of us three ugly characters on YouTube. Find the audio version on anywhere you listen to your podcast. Take care. We'll see you out there.